Okay, here we are, 9 days to go vlog, and here we are outside of one of our storage units. This is what I call the hot storage unit, and today we're going to talk about our storage story. Now, it all goes back to about August of 2018 when I saw the documentary and read the book Minimalising by Ryan Nicodemus and Joshua Fields. And I read like 4 or 5 books after that. I'll put them up on the screen. Now, in all of these books, one of the things they talk about a lot is that storage is evil. You never want to use storage. You want to get rid of your stuff, pare it down, purge it, get rid of it, but don't ever use storage. So we had decided, I read all these books and talked to Alice and said, you know what, no storage for us. That's for wimps. We're never going to use storage. So we aggressively started to get rid of our stuff. And the first thing we did was go to eBay. And in the first fall of 2018, Alice and I became eBay experts. We sold like 300 items, like $11,000 worth of stuff in the first few months, just purging stuff. Now, in part of our journey, what we eventually decided to do was to sell the house. And to renovate the house, we were going to completely paint everything, redo everything, bathrooms, everything was going to get done. And to do that, we had to get the junk out of the house. Now, we didn't really want to take the time to move the furniture around, so we thought the easiest thing to do was to temporarily just use storage. Just to move it into storage, and once the house was renovated, we kind of moved the stuff back out of storage. So we just aggressively started just taking everything out of the house and moving it into storage. Okay, so the first thing that I did with storage is I got this inside unit. Now, this is a climate-controlled 10 by 10 unit, and we started, taking everything out of the house for the renovation and packing it up in boxes and quickly moving it into storage. Well, this thing filled up within like the first couple of days. And after this filled up, we realized, okay, we're going to need another storage unit, which is like, we really didn't want to do that because of the cost. These things are about 140 bucks a month. This is a 10 by 10 inside unit, which I think is 145, and I think the other one is 10 by 10 or 10 by 15 outside storage, and that's about the same price, about 145 bucks a month. So we got a 10 by 10 and a 10 by 15. Okay, in moving stuff into storage, 2 things happened. First of all, we did not take the time to scrutinize what we were putting into storage. We were basically just boxing stuff up and just cranking into storage. We were moving stuff into storage so fast. I think we moved all this stuff in here within like 2 weeks in preparation for the renovation. Now, the other thing that happened was we just were not emotionally ready to depart with a lot of these items. So the easiest thing was to do is just throw it into storage and we'll deal with it later. Okay, back to the outside storage. Now, after we had put all this stuff into storage, it basically sat there and did nothing from July of 2019 until December of 2019. It just basically sat in storage. Now, what we should have been doing this whole time over those 6 months is we should have been going to the storage unit and starting to purge items that were in storage, but we didn't do that. So what happened, out of the blue, a buyer came along for our house on January 12th of this year, and we had to like, oh crud, we've got to make room in storage so we can move the remaining stuff from the house into storage. So what we did was we went to the storage units and started actually bringing stuff from our storage units, both the cold and the hot storage units, bringing it to the house, going through it, and purging again. Now, we had kept a lot of stuff for our sons. At the time we put the stuff into storage, our older son lived in California, and we just packed up every single item that was in his room and just put it into containers because he wasn't there to deal with it. So we brought all that stuff of his back to the house, laid it all out in our living room, and he and his girlfriend went through all the stuff and picked through the items that we're going to keep and the items that were going to go. So he whittled it down to just a couple of containers. He actually took a lot of it with him, and we actually have just a couple of small containers. And this is some of the purges that you got to do. And people that have kids, you're going to have a lot of their stuff too. Okay, now by this time, Alice and I had the fifth wheel for about 6 months, and we were basically living in it in our front yard. We're sleeping in it every night, and really become accustomed to the idea of living with less and living more minimally. So we were definitely more emotionally ready to do another purge. So the timing was actually pretty good. For us, it was a really good decision to buy the RV while we still had the house, do a lot of camping, do a lot of traveling in it, and now we were ready to live a minimal life and had understood what it was going to be like a little bit to live in an RV full time. This is when we aggressively started getting rid of stuff. Not just stuff that was in storage that we're bringing it back to the house and getting rid of it and taking it to Goodwill. We're talking about the stuff that was in the house, things that we thought that we were going to keep, but we decided, we don't need that stuff. Most of it can be replaced. If we ever decide to go back to sticks and bricks, we can always go and buy that later on. And if we ever do go back to sticks and bricks, it will be in a very, very small space. We will need a very small amount of items so that we felt much more comfortable at that point getting rid of the stuff. Now we're going to talk about the new plan. So the new plan is now to move essential items to the RV, things that we're definitely going to keep in the RV that we're going to bring along our road and our travels in the future, which is, admittedly a small amount of items. The other thing is that we are going to keep some items that we are going to need when we do eventually live back in a house. And things that I need, like a lot of my tools and stuff like that here, things that I've collected, they're going to be hard to replace. I decided to keep some of those. Of course, we've got to keep memorabilia, things that we've collected over the years that we just can't part with. Now, the other thing that we have decided to keep is some of our kids' stuff. Now, some of it's stuff that they wanted us to keep for them, and some of it's stuff of theirs that we just couldn't let go. Just memories of raising our two boys and just couldn't get rid of. When we move out of the house, we'll still have 2 storage units. Between now and like June timeframe, we are going to come back to the storage units and we're going to whittle down to 1 storage unit. We're going to whittle it down to the 1 10 by 10 climate controlled unit that we're going to keep while we're on the road. Now, admittedly, that is a lot of money. I mean, it's $145 a month. It's like $1,700 a year for that storage. But we just really didn't have another option. We don't have any friends or family that could keep the stuff for us. And there was items that, obviously aren't going to fit in the RV. So storage was really the only way to go. I don't know if anybody else has another solution out there or has done something different as far as not having to use a storage unit. But in our case, we are definitely going to use 1 storage unit. And when we hit the road, it will be that inside unit. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed a 9-day to go vlog. We're just kind of documenting our process the last few days before we get out of the house and into the RV full time. I hope you're enjoying this. Hopefully people are picking up a couple little tips and things that mostly the mistakes that we made in downsizing and using storage and using it improperly. And hopefully you will take the time to use storage properly. It is a good tool. Use it properly, but make sure you really think about your plan before you start using storage. And we're going to keep continuing doing these. Tomorrow, Alice is going to do 8 days to go, and I'm not sure what she's going to do because each one of us kind of makes this up as we go along. And we're going to take it all the way down to the final day, and we move into the RV full time. So, thanks for coming, and remember, downsizing makes sense.